Let's start. My name is Chingis, and I will talk today about DevOps and NoOps. So the original title was DevOps versus NoOps, but I changed it to more correct. DevOps and NoOps, they are not opposite. So I've just arrived here from Moscow, and yeah, let's start. Yeah, thanks. It's nice to be on the motherland of Drupal. Yeah, so a few words about me. Well, first of all, I'm not that young as I look like. I worked with Drupal for more than 6 years as a Drupal developer in a company called Drupal Jedi. It's a Russian Drupal shop. And I built web applications for organizations and companies like Johnson & Johnson, World Bank Group, United Nations. And about a year ago, I left the company and I started my own company. It's called Whatbe. It's a NoOps platform for Drupal, and in few words, it's something like Acquia Cloud, but completely agnostic. So you can use it with different servers from any hosting providers. Okay. And another interesting thing about me is I was born and raised in Siberia, in this city, and we know about Drupal in Siberia, and actually I'm one of the co-founders of Siberian Drupal community. It's called Drupal SIP. And we'll have a Drupal camp in December. So if you want to experience the real Siberian winter, come talk to me after the session. I will give you more details. But it will be amazing. It will be a lot of snow. It will be a Russian sauna, which calls banya, and other amazing things. So.
Is that Novosibirsk or? No?
Yeah, I'm from Novosibirsk. You know about it?
I know about it.
Yeah, nice. By the way, Novosibirsk is like an informal capital of Siberia. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to visit, come talk to me. So let's start. What is DevOps? What does this fancy word mean? DevOps is a compound from two words, development and IT operations. And according to Wikipedia, DevOps as a term was invented in Belgium on some of the conference. I don't know about Belgium, but in Russia, the word ops is not very popular. We use word system administrators. And we don't call a DevOps guy a DevOps, we call him system administrator. So there are two definitions about DevOps. The broader one is it's a software development method, culture, or philosophy about how devs and ops should work together and collaborate in order to build a better software. And more practical definition is just a set of practices, tools, and policies that improve software delivery process. Another way to define DevOps, it's Agile for devs and ops. So we use Agile to break the walls between business people and devs to collaborate in order to build a better product. And the same about DevOps between devs and ops. And if you look in the history, DevOps has roots from Agile. Agile in its turn has roots from lean manufacturing, and lean manufacturing has roots from Toyota production system. So if you want to go in details of Agile and become a best company in agility and lean manufacturing, you should learn Toyota production system. In my previous company, we learned it and we used it, and it was amazing. So why did DevOps came out is that there was a request from business for more frequent deployments, more frequent releases, because they have to meet market needs very fast. They have to be very quick. There is a book called Lean Startup by Eric Ries. I strongly recommend to read it, even if you don't plan to start your own startup. And the core concept of the Lean Startup is that there is a build, measure, learn loop And what it means is, if you have some idea of a product or a new feature, you first have to build a minimum viable product or minimum viable feature. Then you present it to your customers and get feedback from them. In other words, you measure your success of your product or feature. So you have some kind of data, and you analyze data and learn from it. And then you modify your original idea. Because often you don't know the real needs of market, you make assumptions that could be wrong. So DevOps help to make this loop faster by automating delivery and deployment. So let's say you have a Drupal website in production, and there are customers who use your website. And on the other hand, you have a set of requirements, enhancement, features you have to deploy as quickly as possible. So the purpose of DevOps is to make this deployment as fast as possible. So when you deploy, you usually have to go through steps like prepare all, make sure that all dependencies are up to date, that you have all libraries, that you run all the tests and they passed. You have to revert features, sometimes you have to update database. So DevOps help you to make deployments faster by automating each of the steps. And ideally, you would need workflow something like this. You're working on a new feature on your local computer, on your local instance, and once it's ready, you merge your code to a developed instance, merge with the code of your teammates, and when it's stable enough, you deploy it to stage, and when it's ready and validated by your client, you deploy it to production. So it's quite a long loop, and DevOps help you to shorten these deployments from one instance to another. And you have to follow and use some practices in order to shorten this loop. So the first DevOps practice is you have to automate everything. For example, if you have some kind of scenario you want to execute after each deployment, you have to automate it. Because at some point you will forget to do something and the whole deployment will fail. You have to test everything. In an ideal world, you test 100% of your code, but in case of Drupal, it's not that easy. From my experience, when you test your code, it takes you shorter time to release features, because when you release your feature, you're sure that your feature is working. You have to deliver in small chunks. I'll give you an example of why you should do it. An example from car industry. So imagine there is a car factory and there are assembly lines which assemble different parts of the car. So let's say there is an assembly line which creates the door of the car. So you create 1,000 doors, and then you try to fit door to the real car. And if you find out that there is a bug, you probably have to throw away all 1,000 doors and start all over again. If you will deliver in small chunks, this won't happen. You have to manage your code base. Ideally, you have to follow Git flow. So the idea of Git flow is very simple. Every time you work on new feature, you create a new branch, feature branch, and then when it's ready, you merge it in a develop branch, and then you get many features, and release a new branch, release branch, and you freeze this branch. And you do only bug fixes directly in release branch and then backmerge it to develop. And once release branch is stable enough, you merge it to the master branch and create a new tag. And you switch production to a new tag. Tag is kind of label of commit hash. And you must have identical infrastructure from dev to production, because otherwise you'll face issues related to the difference between production and dev environments. You have to monitor your performance. You have to keep an eye on how your new features affect performance, because if you released new great features and your website works really slow, it doesn't make sense how great features customers just will leave the website. And so let's talk about DevOps tools. For code-based management, well, you probably all know about GitHub and Bitbucket and GitLab. So Bitbucket gives you free private repositories, and GitLab is an open source solution written in Ruby. It's something like a GitHub. For test automation, you can use any of these tools. They're not very different. All they do is they run some tasks you tell them to run. For configuration management, you can use Chef, Puppet, or SaltStack. The idea of these tools, they also called orchestration tools, is to describe your application. It's like, my application consists from these components, and this component should be have this version, this component should be integrated with this. And then you can spin up a new virtual machine and install all required dependencies. For logging and monitoring, you can use something like New Relic, Pingdom, or Zabbix. And at some point, you probably will ask yourself, do I really need it? Do I really need to learn these DevOps tools? Does it make me a better professional in Drupal? And there is a concept called NoOps. NoOps is a concept saying that IT environment can become so automated and so abstracted that there is no need to have in-house team to manage software, to manage infrastructure. And NoOps means that you use some kind of services that automate all ops for you, and you work just with code. And NoOps doesn't mean that operations are dead and nobody will do them. And actually, in context of Drupal, it's possible to have NoOps because Drupal is pretty standardized. I mean, we all know what kind of dependencies usual Drupal website needs. Sometimes we need something special like Solar Search or Sphinx. But in general, it's pretty standardized. And there are solutions, we all know about them. They differ from each other. For example, Acquia is good for enterprise. Pantheon is good if you need also WordPress or if you're just a site builder. And the difference between these three solutions and our solution is we are not a hosting provider. You can connect any server. And we utilize container virtualization like Pantheon and platform.sh. From what I know, Pantheon uses some custom-built Linux containers that helps them with density. And platform.sh use Docker the same as we. And what I don't understand is that they don't really use a great feature of container virtualization, which is containers make your application completely agnostic. It means you can take all your containers from one hosting provider and move it to another, or deploy it to a new server from a completely different hosting provider. And a few words about container virtualizations. So right now, probably all of us use virtual machines. So how it works, you have a hypervisor on a server that creates smaller servers, virtual machines, and then you deploy your libraries and dependencies with orchestration tools like Chief, Puppet, Ansible, and then you deploy your app. And in case if you need a new instance, let's say staging or production, you have to do all over again because you need isolation. You don't want your dev and stage instances to affect your production instance. So the idea of containers is different. You install a Docker engine, which can be run both on Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. And then you package your application with all dependencies inside of containers. And basically, your application is just a set of containers. And all containers are isolated by design. And thus you can have many instances of one application in one server. Actually, you can run containers in virtual machines, and that's what most people do. So it's not like containers versus virtual machines. People use them together. And with containers, you can scale easily. You can use horizontal and vertical scalability. For example, if you have a container with Varnish, and then you have a container with Nginx, you can create another container of Nginx and scale horizontally. It's like a round robin from Varnish between two Nginx. And what you really need is something like this. You have a Drupal website with all these dependencies, and you package each dependency inside of container, and at this step you don't really care what's inside of container. You just put a dependency in it, and then you have this abstraction of your application being just a box. And if you need a new instance, you can easily create it like this. And actually, I have a 1-minute demo of our platform. I want to demonstrate it to you. So the two main things in our platform is apps and servers. You can connect servers from anywhere, and you deploy your apps to the servers. And you can do it because containers make your application agnostic. So it works like this. So you create app, you choose type of app. You plan to support headless Drupal. You can connect your server just by executing these commands and connecting search server to a platform. And then you deploy your application to the platform, and you deploy it to your server. And every application has 3 instances out of the box: dev, stage, and production. And also you can connect your local instance, your virtual machine, Vagrant, as a server. You have this integration with Git. You have integration with Drush. You have all the caches. By default, every application has integration with Varnish and Redis. And then you switch to another instances, and you can see what changes you can deploy from one instance to another. and all instances have the same infrastructure, from your local to dev, stage, and production. Okay. So it was very quick. So, do you have any questions?
So can you go back to the Git flow slide? Or that one that's kind of the same? So I noticed when using this, often the dev stage is just skipped because something has to go into production really quickly, which is a really bad habit. Now, what we're trying to do now is also not have dev and staging, but you have dev per user, because everyone has its own branch, which is like pure branching model. And then the pull request on its own is basically your staging environment. Because each merge with your branch and master should be the stable branch in the future. So that's like our idea on how to do this kind of Git flow. It's very similar, but dev is per developer and staging is your pull request. Do you have any ideas on how that could work with your tool, or is that something that you think could work towards the future?
Well,
so GitHub works in the same way.
So what you say is there is no dev and stage instance. It just you do completely everything on your local instance. Right?
No, the infrastructure is spun up on the fly.
Yeah.
For example, if you have Travis for a branch, you have a test for Travis, but also a pull request and trigger a Travis test.
Yeah.
Similar, it could spin up a whole new infrastructure. That's what we do to like make our SaaS applications. Every pull request is a whole new infrastructure that runs integration tests.
Well,
because otherwise you have to cooperate with other developers, and that always goes wrong, and there's always merge conflicts.
Yeah, so I've heard about this approach is when you build all infrastructure with Travis, but I mean I'm not sure that for example, can you do you build it with containers?
Well, we are built it with Amazon, and within Amazon you can have containers or Elastic Cloud, like whatever. It doesn't really matter if it's containers or not. It's more like the developer workflow.
But is there some way you store your configurations of all your infrastructure when you spin up a new instance?
Yeah, so for us that's CloudFormation, but that's Amazon specific.
So right now we don't have integration with third-party CI, but that's something we are working on. And yeah, we like approach. We like this approach and like Travis, and that's why we want to integrate with Travis. But right now we don't support it. Any other questions? Do you guys want to come to Siberia on Drupal camp?
Yes. Maybe just one other question. So one of the really hard things about Drupal is the file system, and you can containerize everything you want, but your files have to be the same at all times. How do you solve that?
Yeah, so we have this option when you deploy from one instance to another. You can select where you can take files from. For example, you can spin up a new instance, stage an instance, and take files, let's say from production and database from dev.
But how do you make it highly available? Is it just one container where all your files are, and if that one goes down, you somehow have magically backed off?
Yeah, we do backups automatically. You can set up how often you need these backups. And then you can upload them to something like Amazon S3. So, no more questions? Thanks.